Well, looky here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
And there's no objection.
Today, I'm very excited to have another conversation presented by the Keys Box. And today, we have a very good friend of mine, Shanae Joyce-Stringer. She is a entrepreneur. She is a life coach. She is an educator. She's an amazing spiritual woman and friend. So I'm so excited to have her here today to talk about these two particular topics that I think we all can relate to. And it's very essential to have a very honest topic about conversation about these topics. And so, Shanae, I want to introduce you to the people. Go on and say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on your show and segment. I'm just here to pour out and have a conversation.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. You know, we every time we have a conversation, it just flows and it's diverse. And Lord, we have conversations about all kind of stuff. Get on topic, come back, get on topic, come back, but it's always good and it flows.
Yes.
You know, something that we all deal with on a daily basis, some more than others, is stress. Stress is something that has definitely not been a friend of mine, but nonetheless, it's something that we can't get away from.
Right.
You have no choice. You're going to deal with certain levels of stress. And I think it's all about how we handle it, how we receive it, how we resolve it. And so I really am looking forward to hearing and sharing some insight and some techniques that I feel like you'll be able to give the people when it comes to dealing with certain levels of stress. Before we get started, I just want to read one quote that I actually say in the book, but I say it a lot in person. Surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you, not the stress in you. Stay around people who look more like your future than your past. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word stress?
Right. So for me, when I think of stress, I think like anxiety, I think of pressure, I think of stagnation, procrastination when I hear the word stress. Like all of those things tie into stress. And everybody's tolerance of stress is different, right? Some people can function even in the midst of their stress, or at least believe they are functioning in the midst of their stress. Some people have any inkling of stress and they shut down. They're done. Like tap out, give me a moment, I gotta come back. And I think that the reality is that life can be stressful because life is demanding. You have careers, you have businesses, you have people in ministry, you have people in marketplace, you have children, you may even have parents, you have friends. Like you're being pulled in so many different directions, oftentimes on a daily basis. And no one wants to, disappoint somebody. So a lot of times we find ourselves over eager to please people, and sometimes we find ourselves overbooking or over committing to tasks. And that can even be just, let's start with the job where you normally function. This is your role, your task, but so and so needed help in this department, and we're planning this coming up. Can you join this committee? Can you stay late and so before you know, your plate is so full, and to the point where it's like everything is beginning to spill over. And that's what stress has a tendency to do, is to cause spill over into other areas of your life. And the same thing can happen when you are multi-role, in terms of like, are you a parent? Are you a spouse? You know, are you a caregiver for some people? And that the stress of trying to balance all those things can spill over. You know, having to maintain your child's schedule can now then spill over into your relationship with your spouse and create tension and create headache, right? Create conflict, because now you're like, I'm the one always obligated to do this with the child. Although I need help, I'm not communicating that, because in our world, we're supposed to be good multitaskers.
Right.
Most people aren't as great multitaskers as they believe. And so my thing to people is, when it comes to stress, is acknowledge that it is a real thing. Stress is going to happen. Stress is likely to come. And if you're not cognizant, stress can come when you least expect it, or at least the physical, right, expression of stress: tension, headaches, fatigue, overeating,
Absolutely.
right? A lot of those things can happen. Depression, anger, frustration, like it will show up at some point if you're not careful. And so when you find yourself feeling stress, now that you've acknowledged that it exists, now you need to pause and do a reassessment. Okay, I'm feeling stress. What's causing the stress, right? And so it may not be work, it may be home. So you're not about to take it out at your job. Now I got to go identify what in my home is causing the stress. And now identify what are the things I need to do. And that comes with prioritization. Now there needs to be a reorganizing of what is now priority. What is the urgent thing? And what's that thing that, listen, if it don't get done a week from now, a month from now, it's the house not about to fall apart. The children gonna still be all right. Honey gonna still be good. I can still go on, right? And then it's even with just those other diverse relationships, be it business, it's kind of like, okay, what are some things that because I'm one of those people, I'm a planner, even have an event planning person. It's hard for me to delegate tasks. But sometimes to get rid of stress, you gotta delegate. What are those things you can outsource? That's even just a business tip. I'll throw that out there as a business tip. You don't have to be everything in the business. You don't have to be the accountant. You don't have to be customer service. Yeah, you can be the CEO. Now you also shipping and handling, you know, you HR, you got all these different functions. And I get it. You may not even be at the place where you can functionally hire somebody. But listen, you got a teenage niece or nephew, they can answer a phone. They texting all day anyway.
Right. And they cheap, and they'll be cheaper.
And it's gonna be cheaper, and they probably gonna enjoy it more, right? You need somebody to take pictures. Kids know how to function phones. Have them take them photos, right, of your products. Like, delegate some tasks, and that's even in households with spouses. I recently shared an article on Facebook, and it basically was like a woman just basically saying she was fed up as a wife and a mother. And she just needed her husband to like really understand where she was coming from. She wanted for Mother's Day cleaning services. And he came to her because she mainly dealt with the finances, and basically was like, I called one company, it was this price. And so to help you out, I'll just clean. He missed what she wanted.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if it was really that, you know, pertinent for him to clean, he would have been cleaning. He would have been doing this, right? So that just wouldn't have been a major request. And so she was bothered that, one, he didn't do his research. He didn't reach out like on social media, like, give me some suggestions, give me some references, none of that. He called one company. He found out the price was like, I'm telling you this. And even though I know you want this for Mother's Day, I'm going to do this. And then also get you jewelry that you didn't ask me for. So she was frustrated. And so the person who actually originally shared the post was my god sister. And she shared how better her relationship and marriage with her husband improved, because they now needed to communicate about what's the status of our household. Because I'm now a, you know, entrepreneur. She does real estate. I'm also a creative, so I like to make things. And recently had a newborn. And then we also got 3 other kids, all under 10. Oh, and then I'm also your wife.
Right.
And then because you're a social figure, I gotta be on and be where you need to be, right?
A lot of hats to wear.
It's a lot going on. And so she realized, like, once I started asking, I need you to now take on some things in this house. I need to now delegate some of the tasks that I normally would do, or either we're gonna pay for somebody else to do. So one, I can be happier, the household can run better, and more things can get accomplished. And their relationship has been better ever since. Because now he's taking the kids to school.
Right.
And he's helping with bedtime.
She's sharing the responsibility.
Sharing the responsibility. So those are some things. And even at work, you got a team, use your team. Use their strengths, right? You got people under you, work with you or work connected to you. Use their strength.
But can it add to the stress though, when God forbid you do have a team, but there you have individuals who don't perform at a certain level. And so it's kind of like, if you want it done right, do it yourself. What do you do then? That can make the stress more. Especially when especially when I'm not HR and I can't fire your ass. What should I do then?
So I am that person again. I'm an entrepreneur and doing events and knowing in my head, I know, right? I know what I want the event to look like. I know where should be what and what, right? And so because you weren't probably, you know, how they say, like Drake said, you wasn't shooting it in the gym with me, right? You just saw it. So you weren't with me when I was like behind the scenes planning stuff, picturing Pinterest boards, all that going. You didn't see all that. Now you just see, okay, all these crazy boxes, and I'm like, go here, put it there. Right. But then I actually want it shifted 3/4, 90 degrees, and you're like, why is she going behind me? So a couple of things I would say to that. One, you again, assess your team, because granted, you may not be able to do hiring and firing, but now you need to really assess, well, what are you good at? Yeah, I know they hire you for this, and truth be told, you don't even know what your job is, right? Like they hired you, I don't know who homeboy, homegirl you are in HR or upper management, but they still gave you the job, right? Now I got to work with you and probably train you. Look at, again, their strengths, right? So irregardless of the fact that they may not be able to do all the things that they probably should be doing, all the things that their resume say they should be doing, or even their job description actually require them to do, look at what they can do. Yeah, and if that's just simple as like, I just need you to staple these packets.
That's it.
That's it. I don't wrote the whole script.
Right, just put these packets together.
You don't even know how to use the copy machine. That's okay. I just need you. I already labeled it. It's already in the order. All you got to do is turn it, staple, stack it. You use their strengths, because the weaknesses gonna bother you. I've been that person that hated group projects. It was like
I hated it. High school, college, I hated group projects. And I hate when, like, as a professional, you know, sometimes you go to these conferences or these trainings and they want to do icebreakers. They want to break it out into groups. Why I can't do it on my own? I don't know what it is. I can't stand group work because I've always been that person where I want us to perform at a certain level. And if I see that you're not, and sometimes this is called, you know, bit me in the ass at, you know, my different jobs, I'm going to take up the slack. And then, but then I end up putting too much on my plate.
You stress out.
I just hate group stuff.
And I think we just gotta be honest. And I'm an only child, so that's probably another reason. Like, I'm used to doing it by myself anyway. So I don't really want your help. Thank you. And by the time I do ask for it, you know, for me, and that's the thing that is, as it relates to stress, is sometimes asking for help is hard.
Very.
And for me, I'll be honest, it's a hard thing for me to ask for help because I'm so used to doing things on my own. And I'm not about to do the whole, you know, strong, independent Black woman. It's not this conversation. But I obviously am independent in a lot of areas. But I realized that, you know, you can probably get more done with more hands. And it's been a struggle for me to ask for help in many circumstances, not just from a romantic nature, but it could be work related or even business related. And for me, when I do decide to ask for help, promise and believe. I exhausted every option.
You are the last option.
I've gone through every possible scenario of me still doing.
At this point, I'm desperate.
Right. At this point, it's like, Shanae, you really
you
really can't be in 5 places at one time. Like you really don't have time to pick that up.
Right.
Like it's gonna take you far off your schedule. Like just ask someone who lives right there, they could do it. Like just do that. So I think that we have to be better about communicating when we do need help, when we do feel stressed, when we do feel overwhelmed, because Of course, sometimes we assume like you don't see me sweating, you don't see me with these headaches, you don't see I'm fatigued, you don't see the look on my face that
Just look,
you
yeah.
don't see it.
It's
And we
not
make
there.
those assumptions, and some people ain't, not all people are visual. Like they don't pick up on cues. You can drop a million hints. You probably like wait.
Still won't get it.
They still won't get it. And
Yeah.
that can even be your spouse or children. So you gotta be willing to ask for help and communicate. And the thing that I learned in this journey is that, I know it's probably hard, take a break.
Very hard. Very hard.
Like, I used to think like, oh my gosh, taking a nap is a bad thing.
Yeah, because when you have these goals, for me, I feel guilty if I, like most people, we have goals for our life. And we're like, by this age, I will hope to accomplish this. By this age, I hope to accomplish this. And so for me, I've always felt behind. I've always felt like I had to play catch up. And so when I get into that place where I have these goals, and anyone who knows me know I work hard towards my goals, I try my best to accomplish them, I feel guilty if I rest too much. Like I take a good 2-hour nap and I feel like that's all I need to go the rest of the day. Sometimes you forget to eat. You know, I'm standing up late, writing, doing whatever, and I only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And I've always had a full-time job while pursuing my side endeavors, while being active in organizations, then trying to have some form of a social life. I feel guilty. What do you say to a person who feels guilty for taking too many breaks?
So again, we gotta just reframe thinking that we've had literally built in, right, and established. You know, we thought like naps is for kids, because guess what? At the point where they were saying nap time was necessary, right? When you were little, your grandma was quick, or your mom would be like, "Go take a nap," like
real quick.
I feel sleepy, but they would still be like, "Just go take a nap. You need a nap." All I wanted was a toy. No, go take a nap. You know, so that's the stuff that they would tell you. So naps, you were ingrained as a child, like a nap was a necessary thing. This is something you just knew you did every day, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
Right, yeah.
Take it away. So you kind of like, wait, so now I don't need naps. Oh, naps aren't good at this stage. So, you know, now you're in kindergarten and getting notes home because you want to sleep at a certain time. Well, I've been sleeping at noon for the last 5 years of my life, right?
Right.
So, you know, you didn't break out of that mold. And so it's kind of like napping isn't a good thing. You need to be up and you need to be working. You need to be on. And I'm an educator, so I get it. And I've been in that situation. Like, listen, we got work to do. The bell about to ring. You got to get it. Ain't no breaks. We ain't got breaks. You take a break at lunch. Take a break when you go to reset. So it's like you're now programmed that, no, we work. Work. No rest. You rest when you go home. If you got time to rest when you get home, because as you say, you have side endeavors, as I have and a lot of adults do now. So it's like, when do you take breaks? And I remember listening to, I want to say his name is Jerry Flowers. Him and his wife has a ministry called Redefine, and they redefine relationships. Love their ministry. And
say that name again, just in case somebody missed it.
I'm sorry, y'all. Jerry Flowers on Facebook. I think his wife is Tanisha Flowers, and they're based out of Texas, and their ministry is called Redefine TV. I know they're on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. All right.
Check them out, people.
So I remember a post, and it probably was a memory that I probably recently came across, and it talked about rest because it was like even God took rest. It literally like scripture, like he worked and then he took rest. Mm-hmm. We as people forget that part. Like when we talk about Sabbath, let's be honest, outside of, to my knowledge, I'm not well versed in all religions. Outside of like Jewish culture, how many people actually honor Sabbath?
Right.
Rest is necessary. If your creator can take rest, I come to tell y'all today, y'all have permission to take rest. It's necessary for anybody, because what happens is a lot of times when you're constantly on the go and you're constantly on and you're constantly performing, you're constantly working, you'll find that over time, it's just like, let me use the example or the analogy of like a knife. That knife is constantly being cut, constantly, you know, chopping up things, trimming things. Eventually it gets dull because it's been working and working and working and working, and nobody stopped to resharpen it. Rest allows you to be resharpened. Rest allows you to recalibrate. Rest allows you to get fresh knowledge and fresh downloads, because now you got a whole nother level, a new set of energy. So now you're going to take on a whole task. A lot of times if we're honest, we've been working exhausted.
Oh, absolutely.
If you were working and your brain was clear of fog, when your brain wasn't functional, all the other things that you had to do, because now your brain is clear. Now your mind is clear. You have clarity. You have focus. Imagine how much better you're going to be at executing your writing, at executing that business plan, at executing that task, even if it's physical labor after you have rested, because even the best athlete got at some point take rest.
Yeah, because your body will break down.
Their body eventually breaks down if they don't go sit in that ice bath, if they don't have somebody massaging them.
Yeah,
right? If you don't go to a chiropractor, if you notice, even with like brain injuries, because there was no rest. It was constant impact over, that there was no rest in between.
Right.
It was always going to the next game, going to the next practice. There was no rest. And so this is one of the things that I loved about the pandemic, outside of everything we know negatively that happened and negatively affected people, but it forced us to rest, because even Josh had to
never lie.
Like, we don't even know what to tell you to do. We don't even know what to tell you to go. We know we can't tell you to show up here. Right. We don't know you got the equipment at home. So for now, you get to rest. Now you get to rest and refocus.
And recharge like we've never done before.
Like never
If you open up yourself to quarantine and being stuck in the house, you can really recharge, refresh. Oh yeah,
it was good. For me, it was good. It
I
allowed
loved
me
it
to
too.
do a lot of self-check, self-work, because now I wasn't on the go. Like I didn't have to like move from this job and then go to this restaurant and go to this grocery. I was home.
And I think it was good for me because I was able to grow, heal, refocus with no distractions.
No distractions. And that's
social life can't distract me. Meetings can't distract me. Unfortunately, I was one of the ones that was unemployed, but all this other stuff, no distractions. I have never spent so much time myself, God, reading, and just all the stuff I needed to go through without the pandemic. I thoroughly am grateful for the pandemic in regards to that retrospect, that aspect. But when you say all that negative stuff we went through, of course, you know, that's unfortunate, but yeah, this amount of time. And I just hope people, I think when the pandemic is over,
it's not.
We are going to notice who took the best advantage of that time or not.
Come on now, you about to walk through my memories, right? Because I was on it on social media, right? Because I felt like for me, and we didn't say this, I am ordained evangelist. So for me, from a spiritual perspective, like I felt like God was like downloading on a whole nother level, because the noise had shut out, right? Because I wasn't in church 3, 4, 5 times a week, and I didn't have to perform, you know, I don't want to say perform, but I didn't have to preach sermons and all that. Like I was just able to really be in that secret place with him and really hear from him for myself, right? Not on everybody prayer line, not on everybody, because stuff was closed anyway.
Right.
Not everybody prophetic call, prophetic clap, none of that. It was just really me. And I like that because it allowed me to get even closer to him. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm close to God. And nah.
And sometimes not as close as you think.
We're not as close as we really think.
Baby, and he will allow you to go through some stuff in life.
And be like,
I'm trying not to shout. He will allow you to go through some stuff in life that will shake you up and really make you look at yourself. Because you sitting here thinking, I'm doing X, Y, Z, so I'm feeding myself spiritually adequately. I'm having this close relationship with God. But baby, he will take your behind through that valley.
Yes.
And you will really realize how close you are to him or not.
Because what happened in that situation, Ramon, is a lot of people had got used to routine and not relationship. It was routine to go to church. It was routine. You knew, it was almost like you didn't even have to put it in your plan anymore. You just knew everybody was Sunday at 11 a.m. You was going to be sitting at the pew and on the right, second seat.
Yeah.
They knew where you sit. They knew.
You know, we always love to go to our favorite seat.
Favorite seat. Everybody knew Wednesday. Don't call at 7:30 because they gonna be at Bible study Tuesday. And so for a lot of people struggle because church was their refuge.
Oh yeah.
Church was the place that they been because they ain't know how to be by themselves. So they went to the church. And it was there more for attendance than it was for actual, refreshing or actual getting food or being fed.
Well, I went for the refreshing and the food though. But a lot of people, you're right. They think just because
they didn't know how to function because their go-to place had shut down. And so that's when God, for me and for a lot of other people, was like, no, this is where we build relationship. Because now you have nobody else you could go to. Your pastor going through the pandemic too, boo. So they ain't got time to talk to you. They trying to find food, water, and toilet tissue just like you. So now it's just me and you. Right. What you gonna do? Because now it's like, you can't call everybody to pray. No, we can't all gather. Can you pray for yourself? Can you hear the word for yourself? Can you read the Bible on your own? No, you gotta be in
when the last time some have read the Bible? Exactly. And how many people still own a physical Bible? Like, I'm sure most people have an app, but who still owns a physical Bible? I got 3 of them. Granted, 2 of them. I got multiple Bibles. I have multiple. I mean, I have the app. I have the app on my phone and my iPad, but I also have physical Bible. I think I have like 3. 2 of them one was my grandmother's, one somebody else's game. But I have physical Bibles too, multiple. And I think multiple. What's the word? Multiple versions. I have the King James version, the New King James, and I can't think what the third one is. That's probably, yeah. So, yeah, it is right.
I think for me, one of those things that people just got to be able to rest and recalibrate because it will shift everything. So when other people, one of the things that God was revealing to me about the pandemic was I was on a prayer line with my sisters in ministry. We went from a Bible study, but when the pandemic happened, the young lady who led the prayer line or our group was kind of like, okay, we're in a pandemic. We're going to have to shift to meet the needs of the people. So let's go back to a prayer line versus doing Bible study. No problem. And one of the things that I can say God was faithful about, I thought about Joseph.
My favorite story.
And just looking at the way he was treated, right, by his brothers, all because of a dream. Mm-hmm. He didn't say the dream was going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
Or 5 years. He just was sharing his vision. It's always the people who closest to you will shut down your vision. Like, they don't want you to be better than them.
Nope.
We'll deal with that later.
Right.
And I thought about the fact that they went through a pandemic in Egypt.
That is true.
They went through a pandemic.
And who they had to get rid of. Yeah.
And so what God allowed Joseph, even though Joseph had to go through some things to get to the place he was destined to be in, he also helped Pharaoh and the people because he was able to create storehouses. So when nobody else in the land had any resources, they had it and they had to go to Joseph to get it, including his brothers who knew him not. They didn't recognize him, but he was able to still provide for them. And so what I understood about the pandemic, and I get it, now this was not everybody's testimony or it didn't happen in the same manner, but God kept his people, right? Like God was still able to provide for his people. It may not have been everything that you needed. It may not have always come when you wanted, but God was often a keeper, even in the midst of the pandemic when everybody was like, they didn't have food, they didn't have job, they didn't have nowhere to go, they didn't have nobody to call, they had nothing. But for those who then still looked to the hills from which cometh their help, he still sent help. He still sent resources to help sustain them. And it's still, again, don't hear me clearly, it may not have been at the level of what they might have needed, but it didn't stop God from being a sustainer.
Correct.
Even in the midst of the pandemic. And so I was grateful that God used a lot of the pandemic to create those modern day Josephs where it was like some people really were unaffected. So now they had enough resources in their storehouses. So when their cousin called and was like, we ain't got tissue. Well, guess what? I got an extra roll. I can send it to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, I got that extra box of food. We got what we need. I can send this to you. Oh, you need money? Well, my job did not lay me off, so I can sew $20 into you, right? I can give you the gas money that you need. I can help you with this bill because he sustained me. He allowed me to be the storehouse so that I can then help others.
Hallelujah.
So anyway,
no, listen, I'm gonna let you keep going because you were speaking to my spirit, because I think that when I look at how everything started with the pandemic, 2020, and just being in awe, unemployed for 10 out of the 12 years, Lord Jesus, 12 months of the year. Still was able to pay my car note, never got a repo, never even got close to a repo, still paying my car note. Car insurance, cell phone, still paid. Health insurance, I was still paying health insurance. Never got sick, didn't have to be in nobody hospital. I have my own health, pre-existing health stuff. Never got sick, never had to go. I ended up being approved for a patient assistance program that was covering me to get the treatment I have to get every 4 weeks. No copay, no nothing to pay. Food, I never went hungry. And so it amazes me how you have no income or very little, because we got a little help from the government. How was he? And that's how I was thinking during the year. How does he allow my income to significantly decrease, but allow me to accomplish things that I wasn't able to accomplish when I was working full time and had the income that I had? Credit score went up. I don't have a job. How am I able to accomplish this stuff? How am I able to keep my car from being, repo? You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it never even got close, but I was just like, I was still able. I felt like I lived life more. I feel like I had more peace, and I'm dealing with no income, grief, and the goddamn pandemic. And so when you talk about how he sustained us, it was a shift for me when I stopped running from him. And I allowed myself to just submit to the process. All this time with the pandemic, I got more than enough time to spend with him. I have no excuse at this point because I have no distractions. Was it an easy journey and process? No, and I'm still living through it. It's not easy. But I don't regret the experience because I feel like I'm finally on the other end of it. And I'm starting to see how I've grown, how I heal, how I evolve. I'm starting to see how certain things that he did, certain things that he allowed me to go through. And I'm like, why? And how could you? And I had all these negative emotions. It was necessary because I'd gotten too far off track. I'm thinking spiritually, I'm accomplishing X, Y, Z, and I'm not. And he really had to shake me up. And Lord knows he did. He really had to shake me up to get me to see and remember from where my help comes. Because when I deal with level of stress, I typically do very well. When it gets me to a place where I just want to give up on everything, I can't take this, I'm mad, is when it piles up. And I think I'm still trying to wrap my head around just stuff piling up and feel like I'm not getting a break. I feel like I'm not, it's like a piece of paper. At some point, let's say I start packing books and stuff on top of this piece of paper. At some point, it's gonna fall through. And for many parts of my life, that's how I felt. I felt like I was a piece of paper trying to hold up the world. And I wasn't getting no release. People are still dying. I'm still continuing to lose people and things that I lose. I'm still continuing to go through certain other traumas and negative and stressful things, and I'm not getting any release. And so when that happens, that level of stress, for me, it affects mental health. It affects physical health. You lose confidence because I start to think I deserve this kind of hell. I deserve to be in the battle. I deserve, and I'm beating myself up. And so one of the words that really stood out to me every time you used it was recalibration. I literally, when I finally came, and still coming through it now as we speak, But when I see how much he's brought me through, how much I've healed, how much I've grown, it's crazy how I have to recalibrate my mind, because I was going through that hell for so long. We're talking about 2 years. I was going through hell for so long, I forgot my confidence. I forgot what I brought to the table. I forgot all the good things about Ramon. I completely forgot and didn't even know who the hell I was looking at when I looked at myself in the mirror. And so for me, I literally I just remember levels of stress really breaking me and ripping me apart. But what this recalibration has done also is, when I tell you stuff don't affect me like it used to, I respond different, I react different. I'm very, very, very intentional and specific about who I interact with, whether it's virtually, over the phone, or face to face. I'm very intentional about that. And I protect my peace at all costs. And no matter what, I'm remembering my power and not letting anyone take that from me. And I think that I'm the happiest I've ever been. Has there been some hiccups? Yeah, the road ain't gonna be perfect. The closer you get to God, the more demons and crap that are gonna come your way. So I expect that to happen. But the happiest I've ever been, my mind is the clearest I've ever been. When I go through levels of stress, I would turn to alcohol, drugs, sex, other people. Now I turn to the word. Now I turn to prayer. Now I listen to music, or I go to the gym and get those endorphins moving. And for me, it's like being able to respond to stress in that way. It's like a freedom that I feel, because I have my moments, but I don't let it consume me like I used to.
Right. I think that about 2 scriptures. So one, we know scripture tells us that we are to renew our minds. See, a lot of us had not renewed our mind in a long time. We was just going, doing our same thing. We was just living life, living routinely.
Absolutely.
And so having that space, as you described, no distractions, right? The noise is silent. It's silent outside because nobody can go.
Right. We got curfew and stuff.
So it's like, okay, this is new. This is different. And so God allowed us to really go through, because to be honest, like you said, it wasn't easy to go through the pandemic, even with a job, even with food, even with faculties working, you ain't get sick. Listen, everybody went through the pandemic, whether you lost somebody, lost a job, lost income, everybody went through something. Because just even for me, my hardship was, I'm an intercessor. So when you're constantly getting inboxes of, oh, so-and-so sick, they're in ICU, can you pray? Then it's so-and-so, they think they're going to be on, a ventilator, can you pray? Right. And then so-and-so, they dying, and they told us to call the chaplain, can you pray? So for me, it was like I was being bombarded. And so there was pressure on me, right? And it's like, but I still got to function, I still work in it, and now I'm like trying to help and support somebody else, and then it's like you're dealing with all the stuff that they're putting on you. But God allowed us, and even as I hear you speak, God allowed you and us to renew our minds, which is what he asked us to do, right? That we are to have a renewed mind and a clean heart. Renew means like do it again, right? Get back, right? To make it new again. And that's where many of us lost ourselves along the way, is because, like I said, we were just going about our day, going about our routine, letting life happen to us. And as you say, there was no release. So then something had to happen. It was necessary, right? For some things to happen to get us to the place where we are. And like you, for me, I feel like once I shifted into ministry, I really guarded who I allowed in my space or whatever, because listen, being anointed and just being a person and just being the everyday person that love God. The enemy don't like you
at all.
He ain't your homeboy. I don't care how many people he promised, how many millions he promised to give you, just like he did Jesus when he was on the fast, right? He was weak and vulnerable. Like, listen, I can give you all these kingdoms. Jesus ain't fall for the trap. And we were not to fall for the trap either. Because the enemy does not want to see you walk into your purpose. The enemy doesn't want to see you fulfill the will God has for you. Because we know, we look at the story, you know, Satan was the greatest worshiper there ever was. He was created to worship. He was so close to God. So imagine, he knew when God was creating and forming you, even before he put you in your mother's womb, but he was able to get a glimpse of like, oh yes, this person's going to be a millionaire. This person's going to be a billionaire. This person's going to change, you know, the city of Lauderhill. This person's going to change the city of Gainesville. This person's going to go on to be the first Black president. He was able to get a glimpse of that. He didn't know all the ins and outs, the hows and the whys. But because he saw a glimpse of what they could be, that was enough for him to be jealous.
Hello.
That was enough to be like, if I could stop for all that.
And that jealousy consumed him like something crazy.
Right. And so for us as people, we got to understand that in this time and season of our life, because we're not done with the pandemic. You get all the COVID shots you want. We're not done with the pandemic.
I got my shots.
But the fact of the matter is, a lot of it was about us renewing our minds. A lot of it was a time for us to cleanse our hearts in ways we just weren't able to. We didn't have time to go to therapy. We didn't have time to sit. We didn't have time to really process our emotions because there was always a need. I need to go. I got to go to work. I got to go to business. I got this meeting. I got this child got this. They just had to go. But it was like until we had the ability to shut down, it was when we were really able to really hear and really focus and really get in tune with ourselves more than anything.
Absolutely.
And I think from a relationship perspective, and we know this to be true, the reports are coming out, the pandemic really tested relationships.
Oh, a lot of divorces and breakups, yeah.
People didn't know who they was living with because they was like ships passing in the night.
Right, or you're only used to maybe spending a few hours here and there, but 24 hours a day, wait a minute, you ain't got nowhere to go?
Nowhere to go. Can't even lie and say you got somewhere to go. The bar closed, no, you can't go play.
The bar closed, the gym closed, the barbershop closed, the beauty parlor closed.
Ma'am. You can't go get your nails done. They shut down. So no, you can't leave here. We in this together in this same little space. Now our 3,000 square foot home feel like a 900 foot apartment, right?
And then for some people, it brought them closer.
And then for others, it brought them closer because now you got time to spend with your family. Now everybody's not on the go. We all have time for one another. It literally was either gonna make you or break you. But again, of course, it had to be a personal decision. It was what you made it. And so one of the things the Holy Spirit showed me about or began to download to me in regards to the pandemic was, it literally was like, I'm a dreamer. So it was literally like watching foundation being laid, right? Like concrete. And what I understand, the basis of concrete is like a mixture, right? A powder mixture. Things got to be mixed in order for it to set properly, in order for it to do what it was created to do. And what God was showing me, even in the vision, and even as I began to pray, like, God, what are you trying to tell me? Was I'm resetting the foundation because what was being established had been tainted. What had the mixes, the things started to get mixed, stuff that shouldn't have been mixed, stuff that shouldn't have come together, stuff shouldn't have been established, had been going on. So I need to do a cleaning, a fix. I need to do a purification process. And so for me, it was a download, like he's doing a new thing. And so in doing a new thing, it was allowing a new foundation for things to now be erected and established. So like in the instance of you, it's like, okay, now you got this new foundation that's set. So now everything that you build now is now new because now you have a new focus. Now you have a new mindset. Now you have a new way of handling things. So everything that you erect on this foundation shall last and shall be able to be established.
I receive it. Yeah,
listen. So God was doing some amazing things in the pandemic. And I know we're talking about stress, but all of that was it because
it's a part of it. That's been one of the major things that have caused people stress is the pandemic. Whether it's businesses having to shut down and people thinking, what are we going to do to provide for our family? I've had this business for 10, 15 years, and unfortunately you've had huge corporations that have had to shut down multiple stores and probably won't open them up. If they do, it's going to be a very slow process. One thing I wonder is you've given Awesome tips and advice. And I, oh my God, I can talk to you all day about a lot of these different topics to get your feedback on. But one thing I'm wondering is, what is something that caused you stress, got the best of you, and what did you learn from it?
So for me, something I can say that has caused me stress a lot of times is my unwillingness. I'm not gonna say inability, but my unwillingness to communicate what I need, right? My unwillingness to share my truth. And a lot of times my willingness to share my truth is because in my mindset, it was the thought of like, I'm protecting that. When in reality, it's like, but who's protecting you? Right? Who's going to defend you? Who's going to share your story? Because you're too worried about, well, how will they receive this? How do they perceive this? How are they going to understand or reach a level of agreement? When I think about a very stressful situation, I can even go and I'll just relate it to the pandemic because that's something more recent, was making that decision to continue working. Because I knew I had a mother who had pre-existing conditions in age. I knew that she also took care of or would see about my grandmother age, pre-existing conditions. And so it was like, and then there's me. So it's like, if we have all these people going out, exposure, possible exposure, like how does that really impact, right? And the whole premise of the pandemic, my understanding was like, we're all in this together. So each one of us got to do our part. So for me, it was like, what's going to be my part? Obviously, you need income to live, and I like things. I like to live. I like to eat.
Travel.
So it was like, what are you going to do? And so I struggled with the decision to not continue working at the school that I was at. It was, I had already like started prepping for what I ultimately established was like a homeschool setting for a lot of parents who didn't feel comfortable with their kids going back to school or just decided, and the pandemic was like, this is my opportunity to do homeschool.
Right.
And I struggled with that decision. Even though God had gave me a clear vision, it was like I could see the school, see the kids, like it was so clear to me. And I remember when I shared the idea with my sisters in ministry, they instantly started cash apping me. Like just by me sharing the idea, right? And so it was like, what more confirmation do you need, right? To just go take this leap. But I struggled with it because I was like, well, what about these people kids that I'm supposed to be their teacher? And what about, the school? Are they going to find somebody? And what about my administrator? How are they going to take it that I want to do something for myself? But more importantly, I want to be responsible for my family.
Right.
I want to make a healthy decision because at the time, I was at a charter school. The public schools were still closed, but yet I was still told I need to show up to work. So it was like, wait a minute. Administrators don't feel it's safe for them. Wow, you
got to be right.
And so I struggled with that decision. And even though, like I said, I was already in the process, flyers and promoting what I was trying to do, it was finding the right words to say. And I realized, there's never going to be a right way. Well, there's always a right way to leave a job, but there's never going to be like the perfect way.
Right.
Whether you're the best employee or the worst, there's just no real perfect way to do it. And so I remember preparing. I started packing my car with stuff that I left because of the pandemic. I would normally have cleared out my classroom.
Right.
And it was like, listen, y'all ain't even got to do all that. Just come get a few things, sign these papers, and y'all go back home. Don't come back to this building. So I remember taking some things, left some things, took some things, started packing my car. And I wanted to talk to my administrator because I was still like trying to figure out, well, maybe they'll allow me to still work from home. Like, what would be the conditions? And they weren't there. They had left early. But I was like, it's going to be now or never in order to give like a decent notice. And I remember sending that email. And the next day, showing up to work. And I remember them calling to speak to me, and they spoke to me in an open forum, and they was like, today gonna be your last day. No, like, can we talk about it? You know, is there something we can do to accommodate you?
Right.
You know, what's your reasoning behind this? It
Right.
was like,
Just your last day.
I got your letter, but today gonna be your last day. And for a moment, it was like, what? And so I was like, okay, no problem. So, you know, whatever. So what I did was I went back, we were in training, and I guess he didn't, I don't know what prompted him, you know, the enemy like to stir up mess anyway. And they came back a second time and was like, you know what? You could just leave right now.
Shut up.
So it was kind of like, what? Like, where this came from?
Right, I was just gonna say, what are you doing all that for?
To, I don't know, you caught in your feelings, to, you just could go now.
Right, right.
So what I remember saying to them, because listening to, and can I just be real on here?
Yeah.
Okay. So listening to a white male tell me, a black female, about all the things they had did for me on a job, like they was giving me charity every 2 weeks.
Oh wow! Like you wasn't going out there every day working hard and earning your goddamn.
Right, like I was a volunteer, but y'all would love me so much y'all was paying me bi-weekly to be a volunteer, as though I hadn't spent weekends, late nights, unpaid.
That's crazy.
Or worked at home to get things done because I couldn't get it done.
Right, right.
Yeah, so when I heard that, it was like, what you did for me? You gave me a job. I was like, sorry, I never even interviewed with you. I met you like 6 months into the job. I didn't know you were the principal. When I came in here, I had certification and experience, so you didn't give me that. I brought that here.
Right.
So I'm not really sure what you feel that you gave me, you personally, but I know who my help comes from, and it ain't this job.
And what did that situation teach you?
So for me, it taught me, you know what, that I had to be willing to take a leap, because one of the things for me this year was I declared this is my year without fear. I had not wanted to teach for a long time. I didn't necessarily even want to teach at that school, but because I wasn't, you know, fearful, like, am I going to get hired somewhere? I just never really.
Yeah, you wasn't sure. Too much unknown.
So it was a lot of unknowns that kept me stagnant, right? I mean, in fact, while I worked there, Ramon, that was the least money I ever made. I made less money there annually than I did my first year teaching.
Really?
And that was me teaching at that time. I started teaching in 2006. This is 2020. So do these math.
And you were still teaching at the Eden place?
No. That I made the most money. This
okay.
The charter school, least money.
Oh, okay.
The least money. And so for me, it taught me, like, listen, one, you got gifts and talents. And at the end of the day, nobody can take that away from you. That's why I'm a big advocate for knowledge. They can take your house, they can take your car, they take clothes, they can't take what's up here. Because you can always reproduce and duplicate what's up here.
I love somebody.
They can't tap into here unless you share it with them or show it, right? So they couldn't take that away from me. So I was like, you know what? This is confirmation for me. Go take the lead. Go ahead and do what you said you really wanted to do, because this wasn't really it anyway. This was never meant to be, you know, your resting place.
Right.
This is where a place that you were passing through to get to where you needed to go. And so I don't regret that situation. I'm grateful for it. It has propelled me to where I am now, even. It was just very stressful to like make a decision, because like I said, I struggle with, you know, wanting to please people and not disappoint people. But it was like, at this point, I got to do something for me.
Yeah.
I got to put me first. And even with the totality of even putting my family first, it still required me to make a decision first, because no, my grandma didn't ask me to do that. No, my mama didn't ask me to do it.
But still, you wanted to be, yeah.
But I wanted to do what I felt was best for me. And I remembered saying those exact words to him. I said, I get that you are caring and concerned about the students and their families, but I'm a person first before I'm a teacher. And I got a family too. So just as much as I'm to be concerned about students and their family,
what about your family?
I'm concerned about me and my family.
Absolutely.
And there was nothing he could say.
Right. You know, doing research on stress, and I also mentioned in the book, is I came across 4 things that I felt could help people better control the level of stress. And I call them the 4 A's. First one is avoid. Avoid people who stress you out, learn to say no, take control of your environment, and pare down your to-do list. The next one is alter. Create a balanced schedule. So a lot of this is what we talked about. Create a balanced schedule. Express your feelings instead of bottling them up. We talked about that. And be willing to compromise. The third A is adapt. Adjust your attitude, practice gratitude, and reframe problems. The last A is accept. Look for the upside, share your feelings, learn to forgive, and don't try to control the uncontrollable. So with that, I am looking forward to this next topic because I got a little game I'm gonna test you with. But this next session, we're gonna talk about forming stable relationships. And I want to read something before we get started. It says, everyone has a team, not just celebrities or public figures. The quality of your team will determine the productivity that you experience internally and externally. Not everyone that you come in contact with needs to be a friend. Not everyone you come in contact with needs to know you personally. Some folks just need to remain associates. Some people don't need to go past hello. I can definitely say that I'm someone that's guilty of having unstable relationships, more so friendships, because I am a lover of people and because I always try to be optimistic. And I think one thing that I also talked about in that chapter from more of a personal standpoint is that a lot of times we will have voids or we will have things that we know we need to work on. And then we will come across a friend that feeds into those things we know we need to change about ourselves, but don't got the courage or motivation to do yet. And that can be very dangerous because you now can have a person that is feeding into and building up the you you're trying to get rid of and a hindrance from the you you're trying to be. And I can definitely say for me, I've absolutely feel like I've stunted my growth by giving chances. I will cut you off with no hesitation and no regrets, but then something will happen that will call me to directly or indirectly let you back in or pull me back in. And then it's like the same shit ain't gonna happen again. Like Maya Angelou said, when somebody show you who they are, believe them. And I take full responsibility for the fact that I allowed those unstable friendships, that I allowed those people who clearly, Ramon, you cut them off for no reason. You cut them off for a good reason. You should have known they weren't gonna change. Because if they don't walk or talk different, they ain't changed. So why did you expect things to be different? Once again, that's that doing the same thing and expect different results. What makes a relationship stable to you? What does that look like? And it could be personally, professionally, romantically, whatever.
So I like definition, right? So looking at what by definition stable means, right? So stable is something that's not likely to give way or overturn. It's firmly fixed. Stable means sane and sensible, not easily upset or disturbed. So when I put in the parameters of what is a stable relationship, I think of the word security. Like I'm so secure of my place in this relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's a relationship family-wise, or romantic-wise, that I'm not concerned per se about my position, right? Or my role in a relationship because we have stable footing, right? We have that understanding, we have set boundaries, right? And so there's that level of certainty, there's that level of assurance that me and this other person shares that I feel comfortable even, right? Because this is a stable relationship creates an environment where you can be your authentic self.
Right.
Right. And so I don't ever have to fear judgment. I don't ever have to fear that person, guilting me. I don't have to fear them like trying to shame me about anything because the relationship is stable. We've already have created and established certain parameters, certain boundaries. I think a stable relationship is not necessarily something that's just with time, like, oh, because it's 10 years, it's stable. No,
Right.
it's a lot of ain't none stable. They just know how to keep the picture that is
Hello.
put together.
Hello,
But it's
somebody.
really, if you go behind the door, it's hanging on by shreds.
Right. Literally.
You can have a stable relationship that is relatively new or fresh. Not somebody you met last week. I'm not saying that, or last month. It will take some time because, again, you are establishing those parameters. You're establishing those boundaries. You all are building a foundation with one another, which of course grows over time. And so to me, when I think about stability in a relationship, is a relationship that's reciprocal. A relationship where there's not constant withdrawals from you, but that you're also getting deposited into as well. That's a stable relationship, because it's just like, even with any bank account, your bank account ain't stable if you got overdraft fees, because it's withdrawal, right? So there's nothing, you're not financially stable, as people would say, if you are experiencing overdraft and a constant increase in your debt, right? And so I believe that, stability in a relationship is so necessary. Stability and security, to me, go hand in hand. If I know, and I'll talk from a romantic perspective, if I know that the person I'm connecting with is financially stable, if the person I'm connecting with has mental clarity, right, and has emotional balance, all signs of stability,
right,
it makes me feel secure, even more so in connecting with them, because they have signs of stability. They have a stable income. They have a stable job, right? And so there's that level of stability that then gives me security, that if I come into their life, if I join in partnership with them, that one, the stability that I bring and the stability that they already appear, let's go with appearances, have, now we can actually establish and build something together, right? Because I do indeed feel like I'm more secure in this situation. What a lot of times happens in relationships is ain't nothing stable about the person. Nothing stable. They ain't got no job. They barely got a car. They don't really have nowhere to stay, but they conversation right.
Right.
They don't even know how they necessarily pay their bills. They probably can't even explain it to you. And if they did, it's probably something strange for change.
Right. Right. Some fraud, some scam.
Something going on, right? They doing something to get a little something.
Hello, somebody.
So it's like, why would you want to connect to a person that ain't stable?
Right.
They're not stable for their own selves.
How they gonna be stable for you?
How they gonna be stable for you? And so where you find security in that? I'm not secure with you, and you don't know how you get your next meal.
Hello.
You don't know how you getting to work this week. That's not.
That's not good. Yeah, and that adds stress.
Listen, it's I have been that person where I say most connections or relations, I've been the stable person, right? Like, they're still getting some things together. And it is added stress to you when a person's calling, like, I don't know how I'm about to do this. I don't know how I'm about to get there. This happening, this happening. I mean, they got a whole list
of problems.
The weather report is horrible. And you're just like, okay, when the sun coming? Because all I see is rain on
all this rain. I'm tired of this storm and this rain, this hurricane.
Hearing about this weather report, like, okay, when the weather go, shift. And so when you have that, it is added stress on you, because, again, for me as a woman, it's like, you're nurturer, you're supportive, you're to help. Keyword help.
Right.
Help. Right. And so it's like, now the stress is on you to now fill in some gaps and voids for them. And so when you're not careful in those situations, you can then end up cause instability in your life because now you're trying to uphold them, right? And they're able-bodied, these ain't disabled folks, that should be able to function and live and thrive. And I get it, people have hard times. I've experienced hard times, but I have not been in the position or never allowed myself to be in a position where I allow my instability to now impact them or at least make them responsible for bringing back to a stable place. So you have to be careful when you have a relationship because, like I said, stability and security goes together. And when there's a lack of stability, there's a lack of security. If a woman knows
it definitely will go hand in hand. It definitely go hand in hand.
It's gonna go hand in hand. So people want to know. Is there going to be a stable situation that I'm entering in, and am I going to get the security that I need to remain there?
And I think one thing that people can do to kind of help them have stable relationships is sometimes you have to compartmentalize people. I've learned over this past year, I consider people like seasonings. You have lemon pepper. Some may feel like, oh, you can only put that on wings and some fish. You have jerk chicken seasoning, the marinade, the rubs. You clearly only going to put that on jerk. Some people may jerk their fish, whatever. And then you have, let's see, what's another seasoning I like to use? Garlic powder. I put it on almost everything. But you have Lowry's. Now you're going to put Lowry's on everything because something's already got a little saltiness to it. You know what type of meat, fish, vegetable, whatever you can put it on. But then you have all-purpose seasoning. Some people are not going to fit all-purpose seasoning in your life. Some people, if you want some shenanigans, some foolishness, you have those people you can turn to. If you want to be right with the Lord, you have those people, or you need some prayer, some intercession, you have those people you can turn to. If you are looking to grow a business or grow professionally, whatever your field in, you have those people who can encourage that in you as well and can support you. When you're going through grief or any kind of hardship or trauma, you have those people to go to. Now, yes, I do feel like if you're blessed, you can have at least 2 all-purpose friends. And I can definitely say I meet that minimum. I have at least 2. I have more, but I have 2. When you realize what category to put people in, I feel like you can save yourself from some of the mistakes we made in being in these unstable relationships. We don't need to put long-term expectation on a friendship God only wanted to last for a season. And a lot of time we hold on to these friendships. God is showing you stuff, whether it's a romantic friendship, a romantic relationship, or it's a friendship. Clearly these things that are rubbing you the wrong way, that's raising red flags, this is him showing you something. But we, for various reasons, will try to hold on to the person. But we're doing a disservice to ourselves because the same person he's trying to get us away from so we can go to the next step, because I do believe elevation means separation, we're holding on. Doing a disservice to ourselves, we're getting in our own way. And when we just realize, do not place expectations on people that you know they cannot meet. And I feel like that has allowed me to remix, remodel, modify relationship that once was unstable, but I do feel with the right work, the right movement, that an unstable relationship can absolutely turn stable. Yeah. One thing I want to tap into is not just a spiritual, but a life coach aspect of you. So I'm going to present you with 2 situations. And the name of this segment is going to be called Shanae, what you got to say? Okay? So let me give you a good one. Let's say you are meeting your significant other's parents for the first time. It could even be a weekend. You get there, you meet them, and you hate them. It could be for reasons as shallow as their decorating taste or their political views. Whatever your reasons are, you can't see yourself choosing to last past past these issues. You can't look past these issues. But if your special someone is worth the suffering, And they've got to be really worth it. And they've got to be really worth it, because when you are dating someone, you date their family too. Then you're trying your best to see their best. There is good in everyone, even if it's hard to find, but you're really struggling because you just cannot stand these people. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna tell? What would you tell someone who's in a situation? I love this person, but I hate his family.
Ooh. I hope some people I know don't see this. At a point in time, I've been in that situation where I was like, oh, your family. I don't know how this gonna work out, because we mixing, right? And so I know, and I shared this in a recording, probably not released yet, but I know that thought or thinking that when you marry a person, you marry their family. I kind of disagree in that statement, because a marriage is really between two people.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that, yes, you marry the person, but then you become a member of the family, and there's a difference, right? Because in a family, there could be multiple marriages, right?
Yeah.
Y'all family, but y'all all ain't in the same marriage. So I think that one reframes the thought. I would say to that person is this: one, regardless of your reasons, and if they're shallow, I just say, come on now, just mature yourself. If your reasons are shallow,
right?
If the reasons are valid, such as political views, right, which can, for some people, it is just that serious for them. It may be their cultural biases or prejudices that keeps you from having that disconnect, or it could just be their personality, because everybody just don't vibe with people,
right?
Other people. And so it could be something about their characteristics, their mannerisms, that just doesn't agree with yours. Not necessarily either saying either party is right or wrong. What I'm saying is, if this person that you're dating or that you're married to means that much to you, you're going to navigate that. And I'm going to just say, if you can limit the amount of time that you have to interact with these people, then do so for the sake of your relationship or the sake of your marriage. Reason being is because at the end of the day, your marriage is about the two of you. And I know no person wants to constantly hear complaints. Well, you know your mama like this, and why your sister always like that, and why your kids' mama always doing, like, nobody want to hear that. Although they probably know these things are true, right? They know that, yeah, my mama like that. Yeah, my kids' mama like that. Yeah, my sister, yeah, she been like that all. They already know these things. So constantly bringing it up is not going to make it any better, and probably not going to change those persons. It's probably going to cause more friction and conflict between you, because it's like nobody want to hear you talking about their family, even if they do love you, right? So I say to that person is limit your interaction. Like, if you only have to do major holidays, do that. You ain't got to show up to the barbecue every Sunday just because it's at Big Mama house.
Right.
And, let's say Big Mama house ain't the cleanest. Everybody like to go there, but it's just don't meet your level of clean.
Right. Hello.
So it's okay if you're not at everything, and it's up to him to explain the reasons why, and he don't really have to offer explanation or whatever. I don't think he got to lie all the time. You're gonna always be at the doctor or sick, but whatever it may be, I would say just limit your interactions, but do come around, right? I would say if it's a major holiday, a major family event, or a major crisis, yeah, you do need to show up. Regardless, that's where you put all your feelings aside.
Right.
That's where you put all, whatever background issues y'all may have had. But I think you can come together for Christmas for a few hours.
For sure. That ain't gonna kill you.
It's not gonna kill you. So that would be my advice, honestly. Okay. If you can limit your interaction, show up to the major things, and just be at peace. You want to
Okay, I like that. So the last one is, it could be you or your significant other. But if someone doesn't want to commit, you are both in for a bumpy ride. You will probably be ready to commit if you had a little more time. You just can't seem to do it right now. all kinds of awkwardness is going around in your relationship because the other person doesn't like you enough to want to be with you or vice versa. You as a couple have two options. Break up because one of you isn't ready to be serious, or take a leap of faith by showing your commitment to someone. It may not be that you are going to get married tomorrow, but showing some sign of devotion will reassure both of you if you want to keep your relationship intact. One person want to commit and move forward and take the next step, the other person does not. What we gonna do? What you got to say, Shanae?
Life relationship coach, right? So I don't believe in waiting on people to mature to a certain level. When we're talking about adults. Because again, I believe that at the onset, if you have an expectation for your relationship or desired destination, that should be communicated clearly at the beginning. Maybe not on the first date, but if you know that you want to be married, you need to tell that person, because you can end up dating and going on dates with people who never want to get married. Maybe they've been divorced, hurt, broken, come from divorced homes. It's just not their desire. But if you don't ask questions and if you don't make your desire known, y'all can spend all this time and you're wondering, like, we're so great together. Why isn't he there? Or why isn't she wanting to go to that next step?
Right.
Now time has passed, and now, as you say, there's awkwardness, there's tension and frustration. At some point, somebody's going to be disappointed. So I believe that you need to, one, have the conversation at the onset. So here you are. So in this scenario, we're at that place. And I'll use myself. I want to commit, but my partner doesn't want to commit. Is my devotion to them supposed to be greater than my devotion to myself?
Oh, mercy, Jesus. Say that again.
Is my devotion to them supposed to be greater than my devotion to myself? You gotta love yourself first. And at the end of the day, it's about, what is it that you want? Is marriage that important to you, right? Because I always say you got to figure out your why. Because some people don't really know why they want to get married.
Why you want to be in a relationship?
Why you want to be in a relationship? Why have you stayed with this person? Not because time passed and y'all got history. Listen, we saw it. Slavery was history.
Hello.
So somebody decided it was no longer the right thing to do. So I would say to that, like in that situation, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to communicate with the person. I'm not going to give them an ultimatum, because ultimatums don't work. It breeds resentment, even if they compromise to what you wanted them to do.
Absolutely.
They feel forced.
Right.
I don't want nobody to feel forced into a relationship or forced into a marriage with me. I would want it to be something they genuinely wanted to do. And so if I know that my partner is not ready, and especially after I've already committed a certain amount of time, and I'm going to be honest, for me at this stage in the game, some people have issues with numbers. I don't. I say 12 months. I guess that's a full season, right? You got through 4 seasons, right? That's more than enough time to at least broach the conversation and start talking about plans, about marriage. I don't believe in long engagements. You don't need 5 years to have your grand fairy tale wedding. It's about the marriage, I thought, and not the wedding. So no, y'all should not be engaged another 6 years.
Right.
I would just say this. If you wait, you got to know what you're waiting for, because they still can get to that place and still not be ready. Are you prepared for that? Because clearly all this time y'all spent together, they never was ready. They was ready to be with you. They were ready to date with you. They was ready to probably buy a house with you, have a baby with you, go into debt with you, take trips with you, but they were not ready to enter into marriage or covenant with you. And you got to go and realize for yourself what matters most. What is your ultimate desire? And if your ultimate desire is covenant, your decision would have to be that you would have to leave. I do believe that if they are the right person for you, a lot of times it takes leaving for somebody to realize the true value of what they have.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and so I truly believe that they really want to be with you and they understand that this is something that's important to you. This is, you know, something that is a premise for you. It's necessary for you. They may be willing to, you know what, say, I do believe that you're worth me taking this try, right? Making this attempt with you. And if they don't, it don't mean that there's something wrong with them. It don't mean that there's something wrong with you. There was just a lack of compatibility in your design.
Just not meant for each other.
Y'all just weren't right for that. Like marriage just was not meant to be between you and that person.
Right.
And you gotta be okay with that.
Listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I know me personally have taken a lot of notes. One thing I've always liked is that conversations with you can go from being entertaining to very spiritually fed and just very enlightening. So to say you're a multifaceted person is an understatement. But I think that I love the fact that I feel like a lot of people in my life, y'all are really multifaceted. And that's one of the reasons why when I embarked on this project and this journey, it was specific people that I wanted to have conversations with because you guys have encouraged, enlightened, educate, entertain me. And that's always been something that I want to do for others when I do something. So I wish people could really go and really see how, you know, our conversations go, because we go in and we can talk all night long. And, you know, I'm just blessed. I'm just very blessed to have you as a friend. I'm very blessed to just be able to pick your mind and have these conversations. I hope people thoroughly enjoyed it. I know I thoroughly enjoyed it. This definitely will not be the last time you guys see or hear from her. And so I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you. Please tell the people, because this is a multifaceted woman. She got all kinds of businesses and stuff going on. Please tell the people all about you and where they can find your stuff.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity. You know, you call, I'm showing up. And so I'm grateful for our relationship as well and your, you know, willingness to pour out and it's just your expertise. You can find me on my website, which is ShanaeJoyce-Stringer.com. On there, I have books. I have a t-shirt line as well. So there are products in which you can purchase. You can also subscribe on my website. I do send out, I'm not one of those people that constantly bug you.
That is true. That's true.
But I will send, you know, motivational, inspirational messages, words of encouragement. I do make my best attempt there. There are freebies there if you subscribe as well. And I'm a certified life and relationship coach. So I do offer one-on-one coaching and I'll be releasing soon. Another group coaching opportunity is geared to singles. I know most women are the ones that usually subscribe to coaching, but I do encourage men as well, because my premise is that I encourage people to be loved correctly and live righteously, right? And so all of that is available through that website on Shanae Joyce-Stringer. You can follow me on social media. Facebook is Shanae Joyce-Stringer. Instagram is Shanae Joyce_S. And on Twitter, it is Nay Loves Love, because I do love love. I love all things love, if you didn't know this already. But thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to being back with you all.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Good evening, everybody. Well, that is it for The Zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. Stop looking for validation from people who don't serve a purpose in your life. Y'all are not the same.